Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind podcast with Hilary and Bob, episode 76. This week talking property development war stories. This was inspired by a post in our Facebook group which got us thinking, what a great topic and what a great thing to unpack for people to understand that this journey is for everybody, but it's not necessarily going to be the easiest for everybody. So let's jump on into episode 76. Hey, welcome to episode 76, Property Mastermind podcast with Bob and Hilary. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Here I am again.
Here he is again. Hey, just before we get started, as usual, giving away a copy of Property Millionaires Exposed this week. This book goes to Justin Zandona. Justin was the inspiration for today's podcast. So, Justin, this book will be in the post to you. I shall be reaching out to you shortly for your address and pop it in the post.
Yeah, great. And what a great effort from Justin to stimulate some commentary in the community.
Or even put himself out there to say, hey, it's not all roses for me, and I'd like to hear, or just I think it was a bit of, I think in the end he wraps up what he wasn't sure why he wrote the post. But I'll read the post.
Yeah, let's do it, because it really got some traction. And it's a good thing to share with our viewers and listeners.
So here is the post that Justin posted in the Property Mastermind members Facebook group. It's a closed group for people who have done the Property Mastermind course. So it says, hey people, it seems like a lot of people that post on here are doing great things, but in a group or team with other people or partners and using other people's money. Is there anyone out there kicking huge goals by themselves with their own money and no help from anyone else? I'd be interested to hear those stories. Seriously, tell me your stories about how you've had to struggle and fight to achieve success on your project. The only thing I can see on this page are where people are breezing through successfully with no issues. I can assure you that 100% that is not the truth in this game. Show me the real stories, ...
Yeah, putting it out there. Challenging everybody. Good on you.
I think before, and we had some great responses, and I can definitely see a theme coming through. So we'll address those and talk about them. But Bob, when it comes to property development war stories, when you saw the post, what were your thoughts on that?
Oh, look, my first read was it sounded a bit negative, but then I had to look behind it because Justin was reaching out to the community and saying, hey, you know, we hear all the fairy tales, all the nice stuff, but things go wrong in property development, and he may have had an experience like that himself. And so why don't we talk more about that? Why don't we sort of balance things out a bit? This is what I started to feel by saying, yeah, look, you know, you can end up with a good result, but it can be a bit of a bumpy ride from time to time. And sometimes, you know, there's people that don't end up with a good result for various reasons, you know. So yeah, when I thought about it, I thought, well, you know, he's actually on point. And I was sort of keen to see what members in our community would come back with, how they would treat it.
I must admit, though, I often feel, and that's why recently I asked some of the people that we're working with to post their projects. And thanks, Kaz, what you did, Liam, you did, Terry Ann. There was a lot more people, 88. You've started posting, and that's great, because I did get the feeling that people that have, you know, done Bob's course 10 years ago had been posting, and I think it does frighten newbies a little bit. I think they think, oh my goodness, can I do my little development when people putting up, you know, big things, you know, big developments, and it can seem scary. I mean, it can feel like, you know,
you're out of your league a bit.
Yeah, and you're not. So for those of you that listen, you know, it's inspiring for everybody to show what you're doing and the photos of it. It's exciting stuff. We don't just have to see what the big people are doing, and it's great to see the big people. So thanks for you guys. But I did wonder that, and that's why recently I had asked other people to put their developments up, just to
particularly first timers.
Yes.
No, there's plenty of them.
Yes, we do have plenty of them. So what followed from Justin's post was, it began with Paul's Netty, and thanks, Paul.
Often does.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's a bit of a keyboard warrior.
Oh,
he's out there.
Yeah, he does. He loves to respond and get involved, which is great.
It is. He said, which I love. Obviously, you're on our Facebook group, so it says you need to follow Bob's teachings. Don't reinvent the wheel. Yep, that's exactly right. And there's quite a few people that say that. But he said, by the way, it might seem like we're all breezing through. And yes, I'm on track to do 10 plus projects in 2023, but it's taken years of study, trial and testing, long hours while holding down another gig, going to live property networking groups, learning to master spreadsheet building, learning council code, studying city plans, meeting with and choosing my A team of consultants and contractors, studying various construction contracts, specifications, etc. Doing all the hands-on work, learning marketing funnels, reaching out to money partners and investors, up at 4 a.m. to catch up on documents and email replies, going through it to 6 p.m, updating FISO inputs on weekends, and so on. Then he's got in the comments, breezing through never stops. In fact, it gets more demanding and time-consuming. I retired from my main gig as a cartoonist a few years back to kick back with property development. I've never been busier. Good luck with it.
Sounds like he's created his own master's degree.
He has created his own master's degree. But that was the start of quite a few comments. But what's interesting and what Paul's pointing out there is that it does take a bit of work. And obviously he's a high achiever, and Paul is a high achiever.
He's just lucky.
But
Come
he's doing.
on.
Oh, come on!
He's just a lucky guy.
He's doing 10 next year.
Doing 10 next year, and getting up at 4 and going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, that is true. But I guess what he's saying is, it's a great effort next year. Let's say he's targeting 10 projects, but it didn't happen overnight. And there's a lot of self-sacrifice in there.
Yes.
The hard yards that he put in, the long hours that he put in, particularly. Like he's a family man. He's kids and a wife with a shoe wardrobe to die for. Yeah.
I've seen the photos.
Look, there's third world economies that are worth less than her shoes.
Definitely.
We know that, but and the effort and running 2 jobs for a while and running being part of being dad in a family and all that. I mean, tremendous support, of course, within the family unit, but yeah, so. And there's the good times and the tough times and the hard times. I've seen a project absolutely breeze. Like at the end of a project, and I've seen this with other people, like you just think, oh my God, why can't they all be like that? And of course the next one's not. You get
they're like children, really, aren't they? Projects.
Corner.
Sometimes you have a child and it's a sleeper and it's really good, and then you think, oh, that was easy. So you have that next one and it's a devil child.
A bit like that. It can be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Good comeback from Paul there, just explaining how he got to the point where he is through a lot of learning and self-sacrifice.
And that's not for everybody. Not everyone wants to do the whole 10 projects next year. Some people are happy with 1 or 2, or we've got the likes of Jamie who we're interviewing in a couple of weeks' time. He's sort of sitting around 4 at the same time.
Still has a day job.
And still has a day job. He's that transitioning. I suppose there's the people transitioning over from one to the next. But it is true, Bob. It's not easy. And I think we try and allude to it or talk about the problems. This is the reason we have the podcast. Most of the content comes from somebody's problem, and we think that's a great thing we can answer.
Yeah.
But my own project, it has been paused for quite a while.
Months now.
It has, quite a few months. And that is a problem. But then... But
we know why, and we're working on the solution.
Yes,
and that's what it'll be.
Exactly, and then
it's a delay.
It is a delay, and then personally, so that's one war story of mine. Another war story of mine is I am a money partner for somebody else it's gone on longer. Luckily, I'm okay with that because my project's held up. So sometimes what might be bad ends up being good because I'm getting good return on my money. It's not a problem.
Yeah. And as a loan partner, the interest keeps ticking.
Yeah.
So, and you've invested with a very trustworthy individual. And you know why it's taken a bit longer? I mean, gosh, look at my retirement village. How much longer has that taken than when I first did the feasibility?
Oh,
a couple of years.
It has taken a long time. But what the good thing that came from that, and trust me, there's a lot of work goes into a retirement village. What has happened from that, Bob? When there was that slowdown, it ended up being a massive benefit, didn't it?
Well, the first slowdown wasn't a massive benefit because they had to go to court to win the approval. And there goes 13 months in court and a lot of money. But in more recent times, council were really slow on getting the construction certificate. What it did, it gave us more time to line up the right builder. And so we would have been on a particular time frame, trajectory to get the builder in place, but we had a lot of extra time thanks to my friends at council.
Cheers,
for
council.
going really slowly, and COVID was thrown in there as well, but it gave Pete and I a lot more time to suss it out, and in the end we ended up getting what we consider to be the perfect builder for our project in every respect. And not only that, we've come in $30,000 a house under budget. And I am a bit conservative when I set a budget anyway, but to come in $30,000 a house under budget is 99 houses in the...
It's $3 million.
Suddenly...
It's not a bad saving.
We're making an extra $3 million. So while I was slowed down and incurring interest all the time, which, you know, every day I'd think, oh, it's another X dollars interest, tearing my hair out while council are mucking around, that, you know, I've come out a lot more in front with a bit of good luck. Is it good luck? Yeah, it's some of it's good luck.
It's a war story that turned good, and that can often happen.
Yeah. The war story in court wasn't good.
No.
Having to go to court and spend $1 million to beat council. That is a war story, and you don't get that back. It's not a civil action. You can't claim expenses, can't claim the win. But, you know...
You can claim the relaxation of knowing that 2 people got fired afterward.
A couple of council officers got fired, but they were only scapegoats.
Yeah.
But anyway, so... And I've got my fair share of war stories, as any developer would who's been around for a while. That's just a few little ones.
Here's the next comment that came through was from Neil, and it says, people wouldn't start development if you started a Facebook page called Development War Stories. I love that, Neil. That was epic.
I thought that was a brilliant couple of lines there.
Yeah. Got a book full I could print. Nothing's easy except the first decision it takes to actually decide to move forward in life. There's a big clue in your question. Read it again and see how we've worked out how to do things. So also what Paul is saying there, and that's so true. It's everything you do in life that's worthwhile takes effort. Nothing is easy, and I think we expect that things will be easy, and they're not. For something that's amazing, which property development is, it has such a massive return on your money and time. When you think about it, it's going to take a bit of work.
It's worth the effort and the heartache sometimes and the detours, because it's not always that way. I mean, you're going to find problems.
And they're never really as bad.
Well, there's usually a solution. I mean, unless you just bought an absolute lemon and didn't even know it and found out later, that could... And maybe there's even a way of getting yourself out of there. But generally speaking, you know, it's worth the effort. The return is definitely worth the effort. But, you know, some projects are easier and some are harder.
I think even if we were to relate that to sport, Bob, like if somebody on this page is a sports person at a high level, they do that because they love it. What is the commitment, time, what are the sacrifices they make to do that? I think we forget that things do take time, energy, money, and there will always be sacrifice. And we say that straight off to our mentoring students, you know, what are you prepared to give up to do this? Because you will have to give things up. And one of the questions covers that, so we'll keep going through.
Okay, keep reading.
So,
it's fun.
Yeah. So then Shauna said, totally agree. I could write a book on the war stories and projects. However, the reality is people don't want to hear the woe is me stories. And that is so true.
Yeah.
People, in my opinion, may be interested in woe is me and how I overcame the stories. And I've got a book of them too. There's a few ways to look at kicking the goals by yourself. Personally, I wouldn't be in the position I am without other people's money and the knowledge I learned from the many courses and tens of thousands of dollars I spent, Bob's courses included. It can be a lonely road as a developer. So much more surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are on a similar journey, good and bad. Yeah.
It's really true what you just said there. It can be a lonely game when you're by yourself. You know, particularly when you've got issues to overcome. Like, what's the old saying? A burden shared is a burden halved, or something like that. And so if you've got even a supporting partner, they don't have to be part of the development full on like yourself, but somebody that you can, you know, unload to, but particularly people who understand your issues. If you're going through something, a bit of a tough time, or you want, you know, a second, third and fourth opinion, other like-minded people within the community. We see that on Facebook as well. People reaching out, and we do a lot because of our own mentoring program. We're always assisting people, and sometimes we have to assist them around hurdles and speed bumps and detours. It's just the way it is. Having been through many ourselves, we usually know our way, how to get back on the track again. But that's like, it can be a bit lonely when you're by yourself.
I suppose we're lucky, Bob, because we both talk about it a lot. Or is that unlucky because it's all we ever really talk about?
Well, it's not just what we do ourselves, it's that we're so engrossed in our students'
Maybe,
lives and projects and everything. It's like we just live and breathe the thing. We might be between you and I, we might be doing 4 projects or whatever it is at the moment, or 5, but we're really involved in a heap of other projects that we're working with people on. So, of course, we live and breathe it.
Yeah. But that's quite supportive, I think, as where I was going. You and I both, we have lots of...
ourselves together.
Yeah, we can talk about it as... We talk about it well, I suppose. That's supportive.
It's supportive, and being able to share it too. Like if I got something that's nagging on me, I can unload on you, and you can give me your opinion, and often it'll, might lead towards a solution. It's good to be able to share stuff.
And then Detroit said, not breezing here, but keeping on. So we've got, there's just numerous after that. So Terry, my first project, he talks about how, crikey, there's just like council demands engineers that over-engineer, which is a thing, isn't it?
Structural engineers over-engineering, always a common problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Terry faced a few issues with his project where the so-called professionals weren't probably up to what they should have been, and he's realised at the end he should have perhaps, there might have been a few professionals he might not rehire again. But also keeping a closer eye on them and taking more of an involvement in the project. I guess that was the outcome of a fairly long post from Terry there, but he's learned a lot from his first project, and he'll be a lot smarter as he moves on. But he used, as he said, family business money to finance that, and that's great. Look, if you think about it, at the end of the day, we talk about using other people's money, and that was part of the initial commentary, but look, at the end of the day, we use the financiers' money. I mean, 70 or 80% of all the money we use is somebody else's. It's the banks. I'll say the bank. Could be a non-bank, could be anybody. When we talk about using investors' funds, we're really only talking about the equity, which might only be 25, 30% of your costs. So we use an OPs anyway. Just happens to be a bank, not a person.
Good point. Just finishing up, because on Terry's, he said it's really about keeping your finger on the pulse, and that is a thread through this as well. Really keeping on top of what's going on. I suppose it's about being more accountable. The decisions are ultimately yours, and making sure that you are doing the work. Got a great comment from Kaz. Kaz said, Kaz really, when I read yours, Kaz, it was great. It was more along the lines of mindset, which really works for me, because I do believe, and we agree, I'm going to say we, the royal we, it is such a head game. It's really easy to get put off and think that this is too difficult, but it's not really. So Kaz says, well, it's good for your brains to stay more focused on the positive and talk positives, and to push through the negs and hurdles that you'll definitely face. It's all learnings, but Bob's no BS educator and can assist and guide you through the hurdles. Stop you wondering what can go wrong, and stop wondering what can go wrong and start wondering what can go right. Analysis paralysis, she says, nasty. Each development you learn for the next. Having Bob as gold. I'm stuck in one development with council, and until they make a decision, I can't move forward. So then she talks about some stuff that's a problem for her, but lots of problems solving, but all achievable depending on your personality and stress control levels.
That was an interesting comment. I thought that was the gold part of it.
Yes.
Was that last bit? What was it? Can you read that little bit?
Lots of problem solving, but all achievable. It depends on your personality and stress control levels and mindset. Yeah.
And because your mindset can control a lot of those other things, where you don't let them run away with you.
Yeah, I suppose, and even if you're not relating this to a development you're doing at the moment, if you're thinking about something that feels overwhelming, it's how you can problem solve it. What can you do to fix that current issue?
Yeah, that was good.
Andrew, I hear when you feel like people are breezing through. Maybe what the community needs isn't war stories, but lessons learned. Yeah, we do try and do that here, so hopefully you are tuning to this one, Andrew.
Yeah, well, a lot of our, like our live workshop, we talk about it. I won't talk about the good, bad and the ugly. I talk about, a couple of tough times I've had. Like, I've had a builder go broke twice on a project, and that really creates some dramas as well. And that's a war story, how we sort of survived that. Because that happened at a time when build costs had gone up since the contract. Sale prices had come down. It was a perfect storm in reverse.
Don't you just...
So when I had to go to get another builder, the market, the prices had gone up in terms of construction prices, and the sale prices had come down. Then we're getting squeezed. And then when you put a builder in to take over another builder's work, they always load it because they have to take over, often the faults of the other builder.
It's almost like an insurance policy, isn't it?
Yeah. And I talk about that at our workshop even, like it's warts and all. But, yeah, I mean, I've had that happen twice now. Got through. I think that particular one, there was an apartment block. I don't think I made a profit out of that. Pretty much broke even after a couple of years' work on that project. But then, what about all the other ones? What about the other?
And you wouldn't have just been doing that on its own, would you?
No, I'd had a few other ones going at the same time. But, that can happen.
It can happen. We've got Adelaide's comment here. It's not a breeze for me. Biggest lesson I learned is that I don't know anything about property development. And if I want to be a successful property developer, then I must find that person and learn, and action. I found that help with Bob and Hillary. Yep, Adelaide's one of our mentoring students, so she's current and she's nailing it, which is fabulous.
Yeah, into her first project.
This is a team effort, and you need the right team. And this is her story. I work 40 to 50 hours on my day job. It's mentally draining and very demanding. After my day job, I get into FISO, monitor the market, listen to podcasts, and keep on my path. Battle negative mindsets and fears. She battles negative mindsets and fears, and sleeping late at night because I only have between 6 p.m. and midnight to do the work on myself and property development education. That doesn't include the time I spend with my husband, workout, etc. For 1 month, I was lucky if I got 5 days sleep, she reckons.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better, and I'm learning to delegate. Bob and Hillary really helped me with the technical side of property development and mindset. I'm only on my first project, and I'm under contract with my first development site. This is the bit here. Your attitude will determine your altitude. What you focus on, you will follow. It's not all positives, but for me, I choose to expect the best, prepare for the worst, and don't ever give up on your dreams. Oh, that gave me goosebumps. Don't ever give up on your dreams.
Yeah, because we know Adelaide and Sione very well because they're in our program. But, I mean, she was getting very frustrated. I think we probably looked at and canned 5 or 6 projects before we, got to the one that works, the one that they're currently in.
Yep.
And I know you helped on the investor funding side as well. So, I mean, but yeah, look at that, 40 or 50 hours full-time job. Sione as well, he's got a job. I mean, here they are, but they're punching away and got the deal.
And that's when you pull back from that, that's a couple that don't even have a family yet, or that they don't have children. And if we think there are people doing that who do have children, I mean, the interview you did with Anna Kate, she's got a troop of kids. And another interview we've got coming up with somebody who has 4 children, and she has done amazing things. So I think that, I like the whole what you focus on. Yeah. I always say where focus goes, energy flows. And Adelaide has a few more comments here, but she does say it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that's true, isn't it?
Good point.
It's a bit of a marathon, not a sprint, but it is worth it.
Oh, yeah. It's life-changing.
It is life-changing. So life-changing for so many people. And I think if you were to ask people who do it, would they do anything else, they'd still say no. Yeah.
Oh, look at me. I've been doing it for just about 40 years.
Yeah.
Why aren't I doing something else? Why don't I own a restaurant or whatever?
I don't know, Bob. I think you just like property development.
Well, I do,
You know so much.
because of the adrenaline and the excitement, and no two deals are the same.
And the frustration.
Oh no, I don't enjoy that. I'm not a masochist. I mean, I'd love every project to go absolutely smooth. I'm not stupid enough to know, to think that's the case. But I love the fact that the property's fluid. It changes. It never sits still for too long. All the drivers in the market, they don't sit still. It's an exciting world of property development. You can't get bored. I get bored very quickly, but I don't get bored with that because it's evolving. It's always moving. Markets changing, and then the other side is that people. For me personally, I love integrating with people, which is why the whole education thing is such a big buzz for both of us. But also on the development side with a good team, working with a good team, architect, planner.
Bob, even like the reliability you have with your people, your team, and I suppose people that are doing a lot and listening to this now, just when you've got somebody you can count on, you've really got to have people you can count on. Like no one wants to be let down, and you only really get let down if the relationships that you have with your team or your people isn't strong enough.
Yeah, and you've got to choose right as
well.
Yes,
to have that, yes.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't. Like I've occasionally chosen the wrong person, the wrong team member, but you don't stay with them, you don't choose them twice. A couple of times I've had to sack people part of the way through a project and reinstate somebody else. You make mistakes. Sometimes you choose the wrong one. But when you get a good team, then that's it's great. When you get a good builder as a developer, I mean I've had a couple of not so good builders, and I've had some really good builders, and the joy of going through that whole construction phase with a good builder is an absolute joy. And it's an absolute bloody pain when they're not.
When you were just saying that, I was thinking probably something that you do, and maybe this is a tip, is you're always prepared to pay people. You don't ever try and nail people down to get the cheapest. You pay people what they're worth. Like, I do find that with you. You say, that's...
It's back to my principle of, as Warren Buffett has said, price is what you pay, value is what you get. I'm all about value.
Yes.
I'm not about price, I'm about value.
And I think when you pay the people what they're worth, you even do that with accounts, bills. They come in one day, you pay them on the day. So I think that when it comes to either rewarding people or choosing people, you're never trying to screw people down.
I'll tell you what, when I need a favour, and sometimes I do, guess who gets the favours?
Yeah.
Guess who goes to the top of the list?
Yeah.
If somebody's busy and I need something in a hurry, bang, always the guy that has a good relationship, the guy that pays his bills ahead of time. That's where it all comes back.
And even with investors, Bob, how many investors have reinvested with you? I think there's a thing with you around
talking to one today.
Yeah,
it's been in a number of projects, wants to reinvest.
Oh, good. How good's that? And when you treat people like that, it pays off in dividends, massive dividends.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about relationships for me, and as you well know, some of my relationships in property go back 4 decades. And when I need a favour, they're there. They go the extra mile.
Yeah, so look after your team, I think we're saying there. Having the right people around you. I mean, we even do that as far as the people that are working with us in this business. If any time of day, like, people jump and help us out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Georgia, for last night.
Yeah, beyond the Call of Duty.
Beyond the Call of Duty, 3 hours ahead of us. Anyway.
So a great post that was. It really got some
traction. Shall I read
traction.
the summary?
Read the summary, because I think it's good. Coming back to the post instigator.
Yeah, so the author, he comes back with, "Hi all, thanks for the replies. There have been some great responses from people showing how much time, effort, persistence and determination they put into perfecting their craft and ensuring their projects achieve success. I apologise if it seems like I was projecting negative energy to the group. I don't get on Facebook very much and I rarely post. I think maybe I should stick to what I know. I'm not even sure what responses I was expecting with my original post. I'm definitely not trying to rain on anyone else's parade or focus on the negatives. I think this group is such an awesome forum full of people that are striving and achieving their goals, lots of great success stories and such an inspiration to others looking to do the same. To be honest, I think I was looking for some much needed inspiration and hope for myself from someone in a similar circumstance to mine. I've travelled a bit of a hard road over the last 4 or 5 years doing this, and I think I was hoping for my own pep up. Maybe I'll share some of my stories in the future. Anyway, in the meantime, keep doing good things out there, people.
Yeah, well, that was a good post there from Justin. Sort of a little bit of switch around, but as he said, good to hear those stories from other people that, not everybody has a breeze. It breezes through, as it were.
No.
And yeah, I think I'd be keen to hear some of Justin's history if he wants to post it out there. It's
have a chat,
I always
maybe.
respect people who say it like it is.
I definitely say everything like it is. Some people find it scary. I definitely like to say things how it is. No point in beating around the bush.
Yeah.
So there you go. Property development war stories. We've all got a few.
Yep.
But it's not... Maybe we should call them property development battles, because you don't have to win every battle to win the war. So if we looked at the...
Skirmishes sometimes.
Yes.
Maybe a skirmish. Maybe the odd battle. Like I had a battle in court. But then there's skirmishes, just trying to get counsel to do something on time. There's always little
There's
things
always
happening.
going to be something.
Yep.
But nothing's perfect in life, and
Definitely worth the effort, though. My goodness.
definitely worth the effort. Well, there you go. Episode 76. Thanks very much, Justin, for this week's inspiration. And we will catch you next week for episode 77. See ya.
Bye.